A very good day to you. I'm Howard Feldman, and this is Synthesis TV.
This is Synthesis TV, keeping you on the edge of technology and business.
How does a company transform? A company that offers financial services to more than 600 clients? Well, iMasFinance is one of those companies, and we wanted to chat to them, find out how they went about this very task. Joining me in our studio today is Jaybalan Goonahsylin, who is the Chief Information Officer at iMasFinance. Good afternoon. How are you?
Afternoon. I'm well, and you?
I'm good, thank you. I know, you're going to tell me you're a tech guy, not an interview guy. Am I right?
Right. Exactly.
All right. So let's not worry about that. You know, people have this concept that tech is about tech, but actually it isn't really. It's about creating solutions, and it's about solving problems.
100%. Tech is all about how easy we can make it to do business with our customers and our members. At iMasFinance, that was one of our primary problems. It was a very traditional company, almost 80 years old.
Wow. Okay.
And we had to transform them into the new digital era.
Okay. So tell me what was, what did this company, what did iMasFinance look like prior to transformation, innovation?
Yeah, I think just a little bit background about iMas before we get into that. So iMas is, like you said, is a financial services company.
Right.
Pretty much like your major banks out there, we offer vehicle finance, we offer loans, insurance offerings, we have a purchase card. Essentially, what is fundamentally different about iMas is what we call a cooperative, in the sense that any member that takes on our product actually becomes an owner of iMas, and they partake in the profits and loss of the company, through our rewards program. And like you mentioned, we have signed on 600 of companies in South Africa, and we offer our products and services to their employees. So essentially, we don't offer it to the mass market, but we offer it to an employee that we've signed on.
So you've got a client, and it's their employees who become further clients of.
Correct. Okay. And what we call them actually members, because they actually belong to the cooperative once they take on a product. And we have a potential market of almost 640,000 members, through those 600 employees. Right. Yeah. So essentially, iMas, very traditional business, brick and mortar. You walked into an office to deal with the business, and very traditional banking type systems. You filled in an application form. Someone behind the counter will then take your application form and process that and tell you whether your application has been successful. So obviously, moving into the digital era, and at the start of 2019 with COVID pandemic, all those traditional business models were under threat.
Right.
So we had to find a new way.
Totally upended the whole industry, didn't it?
100%. So we had to reimagine our business operating model, and literally overnight, we had to make our systems accessible remotely, both to our internal staff as well as our members, our customers that could reach us for product and services. So essentially, at the end of 2019, we had just completed a major migration of the traditional banking platform, which was running on the old Unix system, into a new client-server type operating system with newer product features and stuff. However, that wasn't accessible still to our members. It was an internal upgrade, basically. So we then needed to look at a digital strategy where we could take our products and offerings and put the control and power into the hands of our members, so that they could self-service and self-help.
Almost you democratized it in a way. To use, it's a very trendy word, but in a way you did, because you actually gave control and power to your client.
100%. Typical banking systems sits in a little data center that's well secured. If a customer wants service or any help on that system, you would have to come into a branch. Someone will then do that on their behalf. This is actually turning it around. Is actually enabling those features that are in those core banking platforms, in the banking systems, and exposing it where the member can then help themselves.
That's
as they
incredible.
choose. Whether it's just looking up their balance, or what they are able to buy on their purchase card, or do they qualify for a loan that they might need. And I think essentially by exposing all those through digital channels, you're now no longer confined to business hours. You're no longer confined to a physical building. You're now exposing your business to the entire cyber world.
Yeah.
So with that comes a lot of challenges, because you've got things like security that you need to consider. You got to make sure that your legacy platforms where your information sits can be exposed. So and obviously being in the digital, in the banking type services, you have these old monolithic systems that we now had to make sure that we can expose that information. And I think that's where the journey with looking for a partner and a technology provider to make our core systems and in the information that sits in there accessible to our members. So that started our digital transformation journey, where we put down a strategy and an architecture to create a member engagement platform, and more a digital member engagement platform. So instead of rebuilding internally on our legacy systems, we chose the Amazon cloud as a cloud provider, and we chose Synthesis as a partner
to
help us
assist
on that journey to expose those capabilities.
It's so interesting because you had a very tangible vision. You knew what you wanted to achieve.
Sure.
But often the reality between what you want to achieve and what you're able to do, especially in this space, can be quite a challenge.
Sure. And I think one of the unique challenges that we faced, and I mentioned that we're a very traditional company that existed a long time in the South African industry.
Right.
Typically in the mining sector. So a large percentage of our members would come from the mining sector, and typically they would be underground during the day.
So it's interesting, because you made the comment earlier that people were able to now do this at night, not between office hours.
Sure.
And obviously now I understand why that was more important.
Correct, because you want to reach your customer when they are available,
right? Of course.
Not when it's convenient for you.
Right.
So
it's true, all about the customer.
So you got them, and the miners that are coming up from underground at 8-9 o'clock at night. Your banks are closed, but they still have the same need as every other member or every other customer. They need to apply for a loan. They need to check their balances. So what we did was creating this digital platform strategy. The vision was that they could help themselves at the middle.
Which
of
also
the night.
meant communication had to be clear.
Correct.
Couldn't be confusing.
Correct.
Has to be. You've got to communicate as your customer wants to be communicated with.
100%. And I think your comment early on, we had to transform the technology so it's seamless to the member.
Yeah.
It must not be a technology journey where you have to be a techie to work the system.
Yeah, because not everybody's got a 14-year-old kid at home to help you.
100%. And we're talking about miners. I mean,
yes.
a lot of we're not saying that they're not tech savvy.
Yes, but it's they were working in a very mechanical type of an environment, physical often. So this isn't. They're not sitting on a computer all day.
Sure, and that's why our digital strategy and the way we the strategy around evolving this digital engagement platform with them is to make it as easy as possible. So the vision is that we have mentioned that the different types of products that we offer in the financial services. So it's pure finance type products, the loan products. We have insurance products, as well as we have a purchase card. So the vision of the digital engagement platform was to create that 360-degree view for the customer, so that they could then, when they log onto this into this digital portal, which is on the Amazon platform, they would be able to choose the type of business that they want, whether they want to apply for a loan or upgrade the limit on their purchase card, or perhaps get a short-term insurance. They could do it in one platform. Traditionally, traditionally our business was 3 separate lines of business. So if you walked into an iMas branch, you would have to either engage with the loan business.
So you'd have to pick a channel, but now you've actually got them in
so
front
with
of you.
the other strategy, the other benefit of the digital strategy was bringing everything together in a consolidated journey.
What's been the reaction of your members?
I think we've had a good take up of members signing on to our portal, because
I would imagine there's still a little bit of not resistance, but maybe comfort training, just making sure that.
Yeah, I think like with all things digital and with the internet being involved, people are skeptical.
A little nervous.
So I think it is a journey and an adoption roadmap that we will engage with our members. I think in the initial phases we guide them on that journey, because they were traditionally used to a certain engagement model.
Right, with somebody behind a desk, really.
Yeah, so I don't think it's a challenge that's unique to
no,
just our
definitely
environment.
wouldn't be. That's why I asked the question.
Yeah, so I think it's a learning journey, but I think what we found that while we educate our members to go onto this digital journey, we must also be careful that they don't get scammed along the way.
Yeah,
because
it's true that.
It's so easy to replicate.
So it almost comes with a a level of responsibility to upskill your members whilst inviting them to participate in this way.
100%. And I think one of the things that Synthesis helped us with is making sure the security of the platform.
Right.
So it's easy for a company like us to engage directly with Amazon and buy Amazon services, but if you're not having the experience of actually configuring your portal correctly on the Amazon platform with the proper security controls, you could actually be creating more problems, both for yourself internally, because
and the point is, it's not something it's not a journey you're going on every single day.
Correct.
It's a company like Synthesis is doing this for multiple clients. They've learned lessons in other areas that they're bringing to you to say, here's a benefit for you.
Yeah, agree 100%. And that's the reason why we chose a partner like that, because once it's set up for us the first time, we want the platform to operate.
Right.
And we'll obviously add announcements and new features. But a partner like Synthesis has that expert knowledge of helping us to make sure that whatever we want from a feature and a functionality perspective, we do it in the most efficient and secure manner, both to protect ourselves as well as our members that are going to be using that platform. Essentially, what we are creating via the internet is actually a link back into our core banking platforms.
Right.
So if we don't do it correctly, and we might not have the expertise to do it correctly, that's where Synthesis comes in and guides us and say that you should do it this way, because you'll protect yourselves. We might think we're just taking time to do it, but their advice and their expertise was really beneficial to us.
So it always interests me, because when companies go on this type of a journey, you're the chief information officer. This is an area that you're fairly comfortable. You recognize obviously the pitfalls, the dangers, but this is the journey you've got to go on. Within the company, was it a difficult mind shift for the company, or was everybody on board with it?
Yes. So I joined iMas 3 years ago, and I think I joined iMas, and a couple months later, COVID struck.
Oh, okay.
So I think I don't know if there's a positive or upside to COVID, but I think what it did do from
you know what? There's an opportunity. Yeah. That's what it is. Nobody asked for COVID, but we got it. So then you might as well take what we've got and make find the opportunity in it.
So essentially, as I mentioned earlier, being a traditional business that operated within the confines of brick and mortar, COVID that environment no longer existed. So the mindset changed drastically, that we had to accelerate and find an alternate business operating model. And I think there was great appreciation that we could transform our business to be accessed digitally and remotely, so that we could continue to exist as a company.
Absolutely.
And I think it was a case of life or death for the business.
It's surviving, not just it's surviving and then thriving.
Correct.
That's
and I think most of my colleagues on the business side, they they've also come from big insurance companies and some of the bigger banking companies, so they understand the importance of the digital journey. So it was not a hard sell, but obviously it's something that it's not just a flip of a switch.
Of
right?
course, because
it's a journey.
Because there are risks,
Yeah,
and
100%.
it's going in a new direction.
Right now, we're also still on that journey. We haven't reached our target architecture.
Right.
We have a vision and a roadmap where we want to be, and our vision is that we can create this platform where we can engage on a 360-degree basis, with our members. However, it's a journey that we're getting through. So we have made several features already available, and as
You'll
we
introduce them as they develop.
per product and per
Right.
business line. So as we speak actively now, what's happening is a lot of the internal systems are being prepared so that they can expose the data through the digital channel. So in the journey, we've set the digital roadmap and the strategy. We've built the platform already, so we have a presence and we've got members logging on. They can do
Right.
some functionality. But as each of the business units have now defined what they would like the members to do digitally and self-service. So over the next year and the next 18 months, each of those functionalities will be gradually introduced into the platform.
We're almost out of time, but just a final question is, what advice would you give other companies who are embarking on the journey that you already are on?
Yeah. So, and I think I'll latch on to what you mentioned at the beginning. Digitalization is not about technology. It's about what do you as a business want to do using technology to make your customer journey much easier. So I think it's important to sit with your business partners and say, this is how we traditionally do business. Everyone has an understanding of the technologies that exist. How can we use that to make our customer journey much more meaningful and fruitful? And it's understanding that at a business level first, before start looking at the technology enablement.
Don't start with the technology.
100%.
Use the technology as a solution to further the business goals,
Correct.
which is obviously about customer service.
100%. It's about
Amazing.
all about
Yeah.
business enablement.
And unfortunately, that's all we have time for. Very, very interesting conversation. Jaybalan Goonahsylin, the Chief Information Officer at iMasFinance. Thank you for spending the afternoon with us. Really, really interesting. I'm Howard Feldman. This has been an episode of Synthesis TV.